welcome back to Swans Cast. After a double game week so far, we've got another one to go on the weekend, but recording this directly after the Barnsley game, so Swansea obviously went away to Barnsley. Also played Blackpool this week, and I've got Lee to join me for part of this video, so welcome, Lee.
Hello.
However, I was joined by Alid and Connor from a Blackpool podcast, and that will be inserted into the video in a second. But before we get there, I'll just do a quick introduction. So don't forget to subscribe to the channel to keep up to date with all of our content, and to like as well, because that helps us grow and for other people to see what we're doing. And obviously if you're watching on Spotify, follow us there and you'll get notifications, and you keep up to date with all our latest uploads there as well. So yeah, we'll get into the Blackpool game first of all, and we're going to touch on tonight's win against Barnsley. Okay, so I'm joined now by Connor Hamilton from the Seasiders podcast. So welcome, Connor.
Thank you very much for having me. Absolute pleasure to be here.
I did say your name right now, did I? No issues there.
You did, yeah, no problem at all.
And would you like to tell everyone where they can find yourself and maybe your podcast on social media and wherever you are?
Sure, so you can find me at Glad All Over, which is the name of the song Blackpool used to play when we scored a goal. Seems to have been disbarred this season. And I'm part of the Seasiders podcast, which is at Seasiders Pod, which is where you'll find kind of any Blackpool preview shows, match reaction shows you want to your heart's content. But I'm not sure why you would, because if you're listening to this, you're probably a Swansea fan.
Well, you know, sometimes people just enjoy watching the championship and having a look into some of the other teams and how they're getting on, especially before and after maybe they play each other. So obviously I was on your podcast before the game, so if you want to go and check out what I said before to see if I jinxed us, or maybe I didn't, who knows, you have to go and find out by checking out the Seasiders podcast from before the match. But Alid is also joining us, he was at the match. But before we do talk about Swansea versus Blackpool, I'm just going to ask Connor a couple of questions about how we started podcasting, how we got into supporting Blackpool. So yeah, how long have you followed football for, and specifically been a Blackpool fan?
So I got into football relatively late, I would say. Kind of got into football around 15 years old. My dad got two season tickets to Blackpool, and I started going mainly to kind of bond with him, connect with him, and from there kind of the obsession grew from, you know, all things Blackpool to kind of then following England and the national team. I had a brief spell working in northwest London where I'd occasionally managed to get to a few Arsenal games, and now I'm back in the northwest of England, so I'm able to go back to games with my dad and connect with my boyhood club once again. In terms of how I began podcasting, it really began with that move back from London up back into the northwest of England. I kind of, while I was in London, I obviously followed a bit of Arsenal, as I said, and I sort of saw all the kind of really great data visualizations, kind of long form pieces written about Premier League sides. You know, The Athletic is a site that's really led the way in this. And I was like, I can learn how to code. I can probably do some of these for Blackpool. And so I did. So I kind of got my way in by, you know, built a little bit of a following online by doing kind of data visualizations, football stats related to Blackpool. You know, wrote a few blogs, and then eventually the guys at the Seasiders pod were like, Connor, we like what you're putting out. We think you have semi-literate opinions about football. Why don't you join our podcast? And I've not looked back since.
That's pretty cool, actually. I hold my hands up here. I wasn't aware you did all that sort of data stuff, but I might check some of that out and I'll take a look into it. It sounds rather interesting. So well done on that. I was going to say, when you were saying about the Arsenal stuff and how you got into podcasting, I was wondering if Arsenal Fan TV was gonna appear in a conversation, but yeah, different avenue, I guess.
Not sure they would have had him on the podcast he's with if he was on there.
Well,
yeah, and also I think there are examples on how not to, you know, run a fan TV channel a lot of the time.
Well, yeah, maybe. I guess, yeah, probably. So, as a Blackpool fan, then, what would have been your highlight since you started supporting the club?
It's a tough one, but I think probably the highlight has to be the most recent the most recent highlight, which is obviously winning the playoffs. Post COVID, and the first full season of Neil Critchley. Simon Sadler kind of recently taking on ownership of the club and getting rid of the Oystons. Like, kind of really that whole confluence of events and circumstance that led to that being a really, really special, League One playoff final. If I had to pick kind of a second, more egotistical moment, it'll be going to a game, and me and my dad had a seat right behind the away dugout in our Premier League season, but it happened to be when United were playing. So my highlight was winding up the United players and Sir Alex Ferguson to such an extent that he turned around and was like, "Shut up, you wee gobshite!" And I was like, "Okay, that's a proud personal moment / claim to fame."
That's pretty good. That you've got a reaction of Sir Alex there. Speaking of which, did you know that the Swans played in his last home game?
I did not. That is a good pub quiz fact. I'll remember that.
I believe that is correct, isn't it, Ali? That it was the last home game. We were away at
I think
Man U
so.
in the Premier League, like when he was fired.
I think so.
Did we lose 2-1? I want to say. I think that's what it was. Correct me if I'm
If you're
wrong
wrong,
in the
we can
comments.
edit out.
If in the comments, go at me if I'm wrong. But I'm pretty sure
It sounds right.
Yeah,
It does sound right.
yeah, I think so. Okay, that's interesting. So you just touched on getting back to the Championship. So how has the season so far been for you since you have come back up? I've mentioned on your podcast I've been quite impressed with where you are in the league and doing better than maybe I expected beforehand, but I didn't really know loads about your team, how you played, your manager, how much of your players. So you might not be as surprised as what we are looking from the outside in. So how have you found it?
I think it's a season that's definitely surpassed expectations. I think going into the season, the expectations of certainly pundits and the bookies were very, very low. We were nailed on as kind of, we're going to finish second to last by most pundits and league tables, with obviously Derby predicted to finish last because of all the stuff going on there. I think Blackpool fans have always had a little bit more faith than that. We always figured we would be like a 17th, 18th team in how we finish. That was kind of our expectation. So not quite a relegation battle, but not quite far above. And then really kind of how we've started, started slow, but then building up momentum, eventually kind of having a brief holiday in the playoff spots before dropping down to kind of, to 10th to 12th range. That's certainly more than anyone could have hoped for. And I think it's a real testament to kind of Neil Critchley and this young squad he's building, in terms of he's taking all these kind of journeyman players who may have been dropped by youth academies, let go, may have had injury issues and been free agents, and he's kind of turned them all into a really, really cohesive, seemingly quite talented side that certainly looks a lot greater than the sum of its parts.
That's kind of like if I ever played Football Manager in the lower leagues, a classic sort of formula, isn't it? Take all the three guys that couldn't quite make it in the Premier League youth teams and build a team out of them. But a lot of them get quite good, even in the games. Yeah. So, I mean, Blackpool have made it work in real life.
Completely. And Neil Critchley obviously used to be Liverpool under-23s coach. And while we haven't quite managed to crack open the gates to the Liverpool Academy, it seems like any talented young player that Everton has dropped, he's picked up. So Josh Bowler, Callum Connolly, I think Shane Lavery is ex-Everton as well. Like all the kind of names that have come into the squad and set it alight to an extent, all seem to be youth products he's picked, presumably knew when he was on the other side of the Mersey. So yeah, kind of that's been a big advantage for us.
We kind of had a bit of that under Steve Cooper, although it was more on loan, where we were getting all his ex-England under 17 or 18 players, whatever it was. Ryan Brewster, Conor Gallagher, Woodman, that sort of link. So, but obviously he's not here anymore.
Yeah. Tammy Abraham was a Swan for a while, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. Not under Cooper, that was under Paul Clement, I want to say. He brought him in before he got sacked. But Tammy was here for a season. It was the year we went down from the Premier League that Tammy was here. Obviously, he's gone on to bigger and better things since then, whereas we've kind of gone down. But there we go. Okay, so one or two more questions, more about Swansea, if you like, which may be a little bit weird, but I want to get your perspective. So, what was your sort of thoughts and opinions on Swansea before our game that we've just played? Like your general perception of the club, and then based on like how we're doing this season so far.
My general perception of Swansea as a club was quite positive. I know obviously you've been a very successful side in the past couple of years, kind of reaching those playoff berths, and to my eyes at least quite overperforming the wage budget, which is always nice to see a club do. Much prefer Swansea's style, at least, competitively compared to your, neighbours in Cardiff. That kind of passing, really progressive kind of style that Russell Martin's implemented is, on its way to being fun to watch. I guess I was a bit worried that, for how dominant you seem to be on like just the possession numbers, it never seemed to translate into kind of results or goals. It seemed to be like possession as defence rather than the more fun kind. But I'm sure that will come. So I think kind of coming into this game, I was worried about that kind of particular challenge and the extreme nature of it. And maybe a little bit quietly confident that, Blackpool was able to beat Fulham, draw against Bournemouth. I was like, okay, but they do keep it on the ground. They do try and play football as it seems like they want to do. That might suit us better than a Cardiff. Lump it long to the big men and hope for the best.
Yeah. And before going into the game then, is there a player in our squad right now that kind of like stood out for you or made you a little bit worried?
I mean, I think the one player who I think I'd heard the most about and therefore was automatically the most worried about was obviously Piroe, who ended up scoring in the game itself. And also it's just a great story if you sign this kind of kid from the Netherlands and he turns out to be better than anyone expected. I don't know, at least it seems to me he's turned out to be better than most people expected. I don't know if you Swans fans thought. He's just got such great technical ability. I wish we had him.
Yeah, he's definitely surprised us. He's still only 22. It's funny, actually, because one of our old directors, who, when the Americans took over, obviously left as part of the sale, is Dutch. And he likes to tweet about the Swans still. He's very disliked amongst the fan base, but he does like to still put his views out there, even though everyone goes at him every time he does it. But he came out and said, like, Joel Piroe is the biggest waste of money this club has ever spent and the worst transfer we've ever done, obviously just after we signed him. So all the fans love to constantly remind him how well he's doing since he started this season so good. So that's quite a funny point, I think. Especially now you've touched on it from the outside, saying that you've seen him being quite impressive. Okay, let's take a look at the game then. So I think before the match, I was on your podcast, we discussed it a little bit. You predicted a Blackpool win. I predicted a Swansea win. And then we ended up getting a draw. So it was 1-1. But I think a bit of what we both said kind of happened a little bit. You pressed us quite well, I think. You said you were going to come out and press us, and I think you did. Before we go into the details, I'll look at the stats. So Swansea had 60% possession, probably expected, I would imagine. We had 5 shots, however Blackpool you had 8 and 2 I was on target to your 3. There wasn't really much else that stood out for me. There was quite a lot of fouls. I think the referee will talk about him for sure. But yeah, for me, I saw the game as we controlled it the way that we would like to at home, but not in a way that necessarily threatened you guys and you probably felt comfortable yourselves until Piroe scored. And Piroe's goal, I don't think it was necessarily like, we didn't really create a dangerous chance. He sort of like banged one in out of nowhere. So, but obviously you go 1-0 up and then it's on you to sort of hold on to that lead. Now there's a couple of penalty shouts that we will talk about. Going into the second half though, I thought maybe 55-60 minutes we kind of stopped trying to keep the ball, it seemed. Whether that was tiredness or whatever, we let you guys back into the game and you seemed to have a lot more of the ball, whereas we were happy to sit back and kind of looked like we were playing on the counter a little bit more.
Yeah.
I wasn't overly concerned in open play, but then you did score from a corner, so I guess that does add up, and we are always vulnerable from a set piece. So that's basically the sort of basic analysis of the game. I don't know how you saw it when you were watching from Blackpool perspective, and maybe Alex
Yeah.
can share his thoughts after that as well then.
Yeah, I think kind of the first comment I make is you talked about you controlled the game quite well at points in the first half. I think you controlled the game before kick-off, because one thing that Swansea fans may not appreciate is that Blackpool normally play in a 4-4-2, not like an old Burnley, classic football kind of style 4-4-2, but a kind of nice, fluid, modern 4-4-2, and we completely ditched that this game to kind of go three at the back, five at the back, try and match you up to prevent those overloads and kind of wide areas, this kind of aggressive full-back play you guys are really good at. And I think that's a major sign of respect to Swansea from Neil Critchley, because we didn't change our formation against Fulham, we didn't change our formation against Bournemouth. We decided that against Swansea, and your shape and how you use it, that was worth doing. So you kind of had both sides going to this three at the back system, and as you say, I don't think it created much throughout the game. I think it was a game with very, very few chances. There was obviously that wonder goal from Piroe, and then even then, I think the corner we scored, Keshi Anderson's goal. He's done it a couple of. Yeah, it's a good finish, but it's kind of one of those ones where it's quite a slow shot, and it just curves so much with so much spin that the keeper's never quite sure where it's going. He did it against Preston as well in our derby. So kind of it just seemed like a game where we changed our system. We managed to completely neutralise you to a fair extent. We didn't have enough bodies going forward, therefore, to create anything ourselves, and the game was decided by two individual moments of quality, and maybe a few refereeing decisions that didn't happen.
Yeah, so Alid, I know you were at the stadium. We actually were sitting at I was in one corner.
Two opposite ends, weren't we?
So I was by the away fans, sort of, in the corner, and then he was the other end of the stadium. So two different perspectives a little bit maybe on some of the incidents. But how did you see the game overall?
I think you've hit it right on the head there, in a way. It is very much just two sort of, I guess, special-ish moments that have just dictated the game. I think we had a lot of the control in the first half and early second half, and then we just seemed to drop off. And specifically the last 20 minutes, I could just feel the pressure sort of coming. You were getting more forward, more corners, which, to be honest, I didn't feel like we were threatened at all throughout any of the previous corners, to be honest. You were putting the ball really deep, and it was just missing everyone. It was going out. We were closing you down then on other things. Yeah, exactly. But as a whole, I just think it was a game of close margins in the last 20 minutes, I feel like. And it was just sort of coming, and we just didn't, from a Swans perspective, I don't think we just sort of switched off and lost our game style.
Definitely didn't do enough to win the game. I think a draw was a fair result. I say a draw was a fair result. Again, we're going to talk about the incidents, and the incidents could have changed things had they gone different ways, which, whatever, you can say ifs, buts, maybes, but on the reflection of what actually happened, I think 1-1 is fair in terms of how both teams played. With the goals, then, we'll talk about those first. You just talked about the corner goal, so I know it's backwards, but we'll start with that. So corner comes in. For me, the key error here is the goalkeeper punching the way that he punches, because it's not a commanding enough punch. He punches it basically to the edge of the box, and obviously the Blackpool player, remind myself of his name. Is it Kelly Anderson? Is that how you say it?
Keshi Anderson. We call him Lionel Keshi.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah, so he basically, the ball is punched away to the extent where he chests it down, so you can tell how, I don't want to say weak, but maybe it is weak, the punch is, because it doesn't go that far. He's unmarked because of the way the corner comes in so close to the goal. All the players have naturally come closer to the goal line, but he sort of drops back into that gap, which is good positioning from him, I think. So the goalkeeper comes, he punches the ball away, straight down the middle, lands to him where he chests it and volleys it into the bottom left corner. But like you said, it's kind of swirling or curving in a way that the keeper doesn't really know where to go. And it is quite slow. When we were sitting because I was the opposite end of the pitch, we couldn't really tell. Like, oh, is it going to go in? Is it going to go in? And then obviously you're the cheers and you know that it's gone in. But it seems like after he smashes it, you kind of expected it to have something to happen quicker. I can't really describe it, but it's definitely makes sense what you said about it being a bit of a slow goal. But I definitely think it was a good finish, a good bit of control, and a good strike. But poor from our perspective, from the goalkeeper there. And he's had some good performances, but I think it's worth pointing out where maybe he's made the wrong decision on this one.
I mean, I was on that side of the stadium at that point, obviously, and it looking back, it does feel like it took an eternity to hit the back of the net. I don't know. It was very slow.
I don't know what you make of it, Connor, but
like that's kind of that's his trademark goal. He scored that one in the derby against Preston. It was almost the exact same goal in terms of it hit the bottom left corner from edge of the box, and it just kind of like spins in slowly while the keeper's staring at it. At the end of that game, he was like, keeper should have put his hat on it, finesse in it. And kind of since then, that's been like his catchphrase, and it seems to become his really kind of statement goal.
Well,
I don't know if we'll see it going forward, but I don't know. It's kind of every time I'm like, that's not going to go in. The keeper's going to save that, but it rarely seems to happen.
Somebody needs to. I think the teams need to start picking him up by the look of it on the edge of the box from a corner, because he's just getting a bit of a gap that allows him to do it. And fair play if you're going to find the space. Fair play to him. I think it was a good finish from him. So. Well done. Otherwise, like I would say that's the most notable, if not the only major chance you guys had. Kind of similar to ourselves, other than the penalty incidents. Well, no, actually, not really similar, because Joel Piroe's goal, he's played in by Oliver and Cham from the right, and he's kind of on the edge of the box, marked by one or two players, where he's kind of going onto his left foot, having a look. You've got Ben Cabango kind of running up from centre-back, like, towards the goal, kind of in a bit of space, being like, lay me off, I'll have a shot. He's the centre-back. The strikers are like, nah, mate, I'm going to turn over to my weaker right foot. Just get a little bit of a yard on the defender, because he probably thinks, he's left foot, he's not going to hit it with his right. And just bangs into the top left corner. Like, I was sitting directly in the flight of where he's kicked the ball to the top left, so you could literally see it arrowing into the top left goal. But it was also spinning quite a bit in the air as well, like you said about your guy's shot. But as soon as he left his foot, we could tell from where we were sitting he was going in. But you could tell the rest of the stadium wasn't quite sure, and the keeper was just stood there. The keeper was just there like, okay, it's gone past.
I was really annoyed that Grimshaw didn't dive for that. I was like, at least try, mate. Come on.
I just think he just caught everyone by surprise, because I didn't think he was going to hit it from there and get on target.
No.
But,
I mean, from where I was sat, again, it looked like it was going over. You just mentioned the spin, but I think the dip on it was ridiculous as well.
It's kind of like a bit of a knuckleball type shot that Gareth Bale used to do, not necessarily to the same extent, but the way that it moved in the air and dipped at the same time, it was definitely a good strike.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
I think the keeper was unsighted. I'd have a bit of sympathy maybe, but I understand why maybe you'd be a little bit frustrated.
Yeah, and the other thing there is, I think we were playing a centre-back and centre-defensive mid that game, a guy called Callum Connolly. And I think kind of he was the one who was meant to pick up Piroe there. But because he was a centre-back and you were kind of pushing us quite far back, he was like, I'm just going to stay in this line and kind of do like a back six, rather than maybe go out and, pressure the man, force the man, etc. And, against 9 out of 10 players, that would not be an issue.
Yeah.
But Piroe just happens to be one of those players who can do that, and you're like, oh.
Well, he's still surprising us. So, I mean, yeah. Sometimes you just need that player that will just take that chance and have a bit of a go from something that isn't their chance. And I'll be honest with you, we've missed that sort of player. We had RU last year, but they're not quite the same. He has different advantages, but we missed like an out-and-out striker that would do something like that, and we seem to have got him. A lot of our fans, I don't know if you remember when we had Michu in the Premier League, a lot of our fans have been comparing him to Michu as quite similar in terms of their play style. But maybe that's Swans fans living the dream, if you like. But yeah, so there's the goals. Let's get to the sort of juicy stuff then with the incidents. I think it's fair to say in terms of the game, it's quite equal other than these goals. Like I said, we were pushing a lot of possession, especially first half. Blackpool sitting back, as you said, changed their game plan, changed their system to match us, to like nullify us, and it did work. So we didn't necessarily make too much, but we got into the box a couple of times, and our players went down for whatever reason. So there's three major ones that I want to maybe touch on. For me, we should have had one penalty. Should have had one. The other two incidents, okay, I understand why they're not given. I think like they could be given by certain referees, but then you might be frustrated as the team that conceded the penalty. But you've definitely seen all three given at some point. But whatever, that's not, that's still if buts and maybes. I told you, I think in a message, that for Swansea fans, we were a little bit more frustrated because there's been about 6 games in a row where we've had a penalty shout that's not been turned down. We haven't had a penalty all season, and it kind of felt like it was getting to the point where it was like, what do we need to do to actually get a penalty? Which is why you might speak to Swansea fans or hear them talking about it and feel like it wasn't even that bad, what you want about, but that's why they probably overreacting to that extent. And I don't know if you've seen, but Russell Martin has actually said they're going to be filing a video compilation to the FA about these incidents that keep going against us. Like, we know nothing will come of that, but it's interesting to see him say it. Stuck well the first one. Go on, if you want to.
No, I really rate that, actually, because just before the international break, we had a really horrendous decision where the ball was way over the line. Oh. A player kicks it further back into the net, and that player's called offside and the goal disallowed. And it's like blatantly obvious the ball went over the line before anybody
surely
else
like
touched it.
Goal line technology would trigger before the ball is kicked.
I don't know if it was like that weird thing in the relegation battle 2 seasons ago where it just wasn't switched on, but no. And Neil Critchley came out afterwards and was like, that's not on. The referees always think it's little old Blackpool, we're just going to sit there and take it. We're absolutely not. And he did the same thing. And obviously we've had this result today where the referees have maybe been looked upon us a little bit more favourably. So absolutely rate Russell Martin going to go in, staking his claim. I think you've absolutely got to in this league with the standard of officiating, otherwise you're going to get walked all over.
It's just a shame because and like I said, it does make you think every little incident is going against you now because you haven't had one that's gone for you. So yeah, rose-tinted glasses with some of them perhaps, but I think Keith Stroud was a referee, wasn't he? And I know he hasn't got a good reputation, so I think other teams have been frustrated with him in the past quite a lot, actually. So I'm surprised that he hasn't had more questions asked about him. But anyway, the first penalty incident. So Ethan led. No, it wasn't Ethan led the first one. I'm lying. It was Joel Piroe. A really good ball actually over the top from Cham. So we didn't create many chances. This was probably one of the other better ones that we actually did manage to create. I think Joel Piroe couldn't quite bring the ball under control well enough. And he tangles with the Blackpool player. Forgive me if I say his name wrong. Ekpiteta?
Yep, Marvin Ekpiteta.
Okay.
Yep.
So from the replay, it looks like Joel Piroe's running on, he's running alongside him. There's a bit of a tangle in the legs. It looks like Ekpiteta's legs tangle from behind with Piroe's. But for me, he's already lost the ball and I don't think he's going to score, regardless of being brought down. I definitely think there was a little bit of contact that brings Piroe down. Maybe it's just one of them where you're running alongside each other and you tangle. So I can understand why it's not given. But I will say I don't think he's scoring even if he's not brought down because I think the keeper's already got the ball. He's gone a bit too far. I don't know where you made of that one, Alid.
That's my impression of it. I think of the 3, this is like the middle one.
Yeah.
But I think ultimately it was right not to be given. As you say, Grimshaw was there, our keeper. He was out. He was ready to receive the ball. Piroe's kind of control looked questionable. And I think actually Ekpiteta did get a little bit of the ball. Probably not enough for me to be comfortable, but enough of the ball. And one thing Ekpiteta's been good at all season for us is those kind of last-ditch challenges. He's kind of got them right quite consistently. And so normally when I see something like that, my first reaction as a Blackpool fan is, it's okay. Marvin Ekpiteta is very good at that. And that also probably filters a little bit into how Blackpool fans saw that incident. We were kind of reasonably confident. Yeah, he's okay there. We probably got off a bit lucky to not, that Swansea didn't make more of it, but it's not a penalty.
I think it's one of them that it could have been given. I think if Piroe, maybe if he's just about to strike the ball, maybe it would have been different then, but in the circumstances, I think that is correct in the end. Alex, you were right by it when it happened, so I don't know what perspective you got from it in the stadium.
I can't remember what I said in our group chat.
Now, you did say you didn't think it was one.
I personally thought that he went down slightly too easily, but it was mainly because I think my perspective there was because his initial touch wasn't brilliant, which led to the ball being further away, and they just sort of tangoed and ended up on the floor.
So, like, he takes a bad touch and then he's trying to make more of it. I get you. I was down the other end of the pitch and I'm there messaging, that should be a penalty, and he's like, nah, well, not bad. So, yeah, he could, in the stadium, you know what it's like. Moving on to the second one then, Ethan Laird then, we've seen this actually a couple of times. This is one of the ones that keeps happening that we never get, but this, I think, definitely isn't one, but there's the same incidents happened in a few other games where there's more contact, and I think it should have been one. But on this occasion, I just think, to be fair, the Blackpool player is just stronger, and Ethan Laird comes across, he tries to use his body to push the Blackpool player over or something, and just goes down. So yeah, I don't think there's much enough in that for me. For context, he's played through and he's running in, and they run into each other, and Laird's on the floor. That's basically what happens.
I think we were opposites this time, so I think I was like, that's a penalty, and you're like, nah. And then John, one of the other guys, was like, I've just watched a replay. He went down way too easy.
Yeah.
So that was, two different
I guess you agree
again
on that one as well, Connor. Then you said if the other one was the middle.
We had a similar reaction to Alan in that kind of Blackpool Twitter was very much, we got lucky, that should have been a penalty. And then we saw the replay a couple of times, and that now actually, Reece James did, I think it's Reece James was the Blackpool player. He just did a really good job kind of using his strength, holding the kind of job, holding Ethan Laird off, and I think fair play to him. I think of the three, this was probably like the softest. I think I would have felt most hard done by if this had been given. But as you say, you've seen them given, particularly in the Premier League last season, that would have been given 7 times out of 10.
VAR might even give that sometimes, the way the Premier League went last season, and you'd be annoyed though. If that was against us, I'd be annoyed. So, I mean, we would have taken it because we do a penalty, but yeah, I'd be annoyed if I was in your shoes then.
I think that's always the ultimate test. Like if you were the other set of fans looking at that incident the other way around, would you be equally livid?
Yeah. Okay, I'll ask you to lead on this one then. The third incident, Connor. Led again, brought down in the box. What did you make of this one?
I think the way he's initially brought down, I think maybe again by Ekpatetuk, maybe it could have been James, isn't a penalty. But then James' husband, or kind of left centre back, decides to get involved, and I think leaves a little bit of a stamp or a kick on Ethan Laird, kind of either as he's going down or just after he's hit the floor. And to me, that's not on. To me, that's a nailed on pen. That they just seemed quite unnecessary.
Yeah.
And maybe the lesson is don't trust a man in a man bun. Not a fan of James' husband's hairstyle, but I thought that was really naughty by James' husband, and I think Blackpool were really lucky that little bit of dark arts, which I'd like to think is uncharacteristic of us as a side. I think we're really lucky that went unnoticed.
This is the one, I was right by this one, and this is the one that infuriated me because I just don't understand how the ref has not given that one. Russell Martin is the one. This is the one he was speaking about most afterwards, and he said the referee said to him there just wasn't enough contact. But you've seen contact in the box to bring the player down. How can you say there's not enough contact for a penalty? They didn't know the goalposts changed all of a sudden to deem what's a foul in or outside the box. But there we go. So I agree. He comes into the box, and Cabango plays him in, and he does a little bit of a spin, kind of trips over his own feet a little bit, but then there's a bit of a leg euro there from, I'm not sure which one of your defenders it was, and he does go down, but he gets back up. I don't think there's any incident up until this point, and then he kind of knocks the ball away, I think it's from Husband, and then there's a leg onto his standing leg, like some sort of stamp or a kick. I don't know if it was intentional. I think Ethan Led's quite quick and nippy with the ball. And when you watch it in real time, he does it quite often where he can knock the ball past a player, and that's how he gets brought down so much. And that's why all these penalties are saying that we should have had, like 90% of them have been with him. So I'm not sure there's much necessarily intent or stamp that I'll stick up for the man bun there, but I definitely think there's enough there for a penalty because there's no ball contact and he's brought him down as far as I'm concerned. It's his standing leg and there's contact on his standing leg and it brings him down. So I don't really understand how the refs missed it. And again, looking at the bigger picture, as much as the other two might have been a bit softer, you're just thinking at this point, like, literally what does it take for the referee to blow that whistle? Because at this point in the game, it's 1-0 to the Swans and 2-0. It does change the picture of the match.
Yeah, they get 2-0 with that much possession and the side that's used to dominating games. If you score a second goal, the 3 points are in the bag because you can just knock it about, use your really well-trained possession as a defensive tactic and kill the game off.
Yeah, but, the ref didn't blow the whistle. I think Husband looked a little bit guilty, mind, when I saw the replay. I think he knew what he had done and got away with one. But, you got to play to the whistle and fair play. Like I said, Blackpool went on then to maybe come at us a bit more and deserved the point. But Aled, what did you make of it from your angle? You were on the other end of the pitch for this one.
To be honest, from where I was sat, I couldn't see much. I just saw a bit of a scramble, player on the floor, and then sort of the players raise their hands. It was the angles weren't right for me there, and I think at the time, literally just like as it happened, or there were cheers, and that's when I sort of looked because he got through. And then he was brought down, but I didn't really see much because of where I was sat. And
no, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. But yeah, it's been a good chat so far. So, is there anything else, Connor, from this game that we haven't discussed that you want to touch on before we wrap up? Because I did say half an hour and it's been longer, so I do apologise. But when you start talking about football, it can take you away.
Yeah, it's been good fun. I don't have anything further I want to raise. I'm looking forward to seeing the Russell Martin highlight reel, montage of referee incompetence. I hope that makes its way to
There's
the
a thread on
public
Twitter.
I hope that gets out.
There's a thread on Twitter. Someone's already done it where they've done a replay of everyone, and it's like every tweet is like added the next one and the next one and the next one. Some of them look a bit softer than others, but when you add them all together and you haven't had one decision, like I said, that's when you get annoyed. But carry on.
Put it all together in a single video. Stick some Benny Hill music on top. You got yourself a good meme there.
Yeah, that's I might write that down now. Note for but yeah, well, look, it was a good game, and I hope Blackpool continue to do well this season. It's nice to have, like I said before, different teams in the league. Like we haven't played too much in the last 10, 20 years, I don't think. So it's good to have like different teams to be able to go to as an away game and stuff like that. Because it's one I definitely want to get to is Blackpool away. I don't know if we will make it this year, but it's definitely one I want to go to. It's a couple of reasons. Partly because I want to go to the Pleasure Beach, but that's yeah. I would like to visit Blackpool. It's just one of them locations, isn't it? It's like everyone loves to go on a trip up there, a couple of drinks, and good night out.
Yeah, and you'd be more than welcome. Let us know when you're up there.
Will do.
And yeah, we will see you again in the playoffs.
Yeah, we'll see you in the
playoffs.
Well,
that's the second leg before then, of course, yeah.
If we get to the playoffs this year, though, we got semi-finals, and then we got to the final. You sure you want to play us this time? The next step. It's only
Blackpool are the playoff kings. We get, anywhere in those 4 spots, Premier League is guaranteed.
There's no Stephen Dobby this time for either of us, so... But, and cheers for joining, Aled. Obviously, this video will be put into another video where we'll probably discuss the aftermath of the midweek game. I believe it's Barnsley, is it? We got tomorrow. I want to say. Yeah. And then Reading on the weekend.
That's going to be a culture clash.
Barnsley away, Reading on the weekend, as you said.
Yeah. Well, I mean, another three game a week, quite hefty on the schedule. So, yeah. We'll transition into that now. So thanks for coming, Connor. Do you want to remind everyone where they can find you and your podcast, please?
Yep, you can find us at Seasiders Pod on Twitter, and then just type Seasiders Podcast into wherever you normally get your podcasts if you'd like to re-listen to the match preview show and see how right or wrong we got it.
Yeah, you can see what rubbish I spoke about the Swans before kick-off that didn't come true. But so check that out, and we shall catch you in a bit. So thanks again. See you soon. Okay, yeah, so that was an interesting conversation there on the Blackpool game. Before we move on, though, I know you didn't manage to get to the game this week, but what did you make of the highlights, so specifically the penalty incidents? That was the main talking point.
Yeah, I was in Wrexham on the weekend. Oh my god!
You're changing allegiances now to Ryan Reynolds, see?
Scouting. I tried to go to the game, but my partner was having none of it. But luckily, it was 0-0, so I dodged a bullet there. Yeah, I saw the highlights, but the penalties. Like I was saying to you earlier before we started recording, the second one on lead is 100% a penalty. It's ridiculous. Like, he clearly makes contact with him. I don't know how we're not getting these. At least 3 or 4 we should have had this year now. And it's getting a bit ridiculous now.
There was another one in that match that wasn't really talked about, and it wasn't on the highlights. So I can't 100% guarantee that it was definitely a penalty shot or not. Basically, Patterson was running through on a ball into the box, but it was kind of going diagonal into the corner through the box, if you like. But he was getting to the ball. I think he'd taken a couple of touches actually to get to that point, so he was actually running with the ball, but taking heavy touches. And there's a defender running behind him, and he literally 2 hands on his back pushes him over onto the floor. I can't remember 100% if he was in the box or just outside. It was borderline, but I haven't really seen many people mentioning that one, and it wasn't in the highlights, so I couldn't confirm whether it was inside or not. But he literally just puts his hands on his back and pushes him to the floor, but the ref didn't blow up or nothing. So it's just after. I think that was that would have been. I think it was after all of the other incidents actually. So as much as I'm not 100% sure it would have been a penalty or not. After you've had the 3 turned down already, I think at the time everyone was like, yeah, it should be a penalty, but yeah, it depends who's in the box or not.
Just a balance out.
Yeah. But yeah, moving on from...
We haven't had a penalty this season, have we?
No, we haven't. I mean, I think Keith has definitely had a word with the refs about not giving us penalties this year.
Are we the only team? We must be the only team. Surely everyone's had a penalty by now.
I haven't seen the stats on that, but we're definitely down the lower half of the lower teams in terms of how many penalties.
Fascinating though. The first one on lead on Saturday, it's not a pen. He's dangling his foot in again, looking for it. So with lead, he's kind of got. I don't know.
He's not helping himself, is he?
He's not helping himself, but it's not. We were saying earlier again. It wasn't a dive. He is doing that thing that Sterling does so well. He's just dangling the foot in, trying to get contact.
You do see it from players that are really quick, though. They go down a lot easier. Yeah. It's like if you're running a bit quicker, you lose your balance a little bit easier. I'm not saying that's what it is, but he could just... If he just does what he's doing, he's going to get brought down anyway, so he doesn't need to necessarily go down so easy.
Yeah, but that being said, we should have had at least 3 or 4.
Yeah, he's had a couple that have been turned down. So maybe at the same time... He's there thinking, what do I actually need to do to get one? Maybe I'll try and make more of a meal of it, and then that's not working either. So,
well, if you say, he's had, how many shouts has he had this year? What, 6, 7, 8 maybe? Well, they're all, you could say they're all 50-50 decisions.
Is it Chris O'Leary that was in the commentary was saying? Oh, it was his 8th, 9th or 10th shout or something this season.
Yeah, they've all gone against us.
Yeah, all of them. Well, it's got to end eventually. Maybe this video review that... Russell Martin has put together for the Referees Association or whatever, the FA, will actually amount to something, but I'm pretty sure we've had one before, maybe under Gary Monk. I think it was that season where we had a red card every game for the first half a season, pretty much.
Yeah, I remember that. That was brilliant, that was. Remember the Wilfred Boney one? I think it was against Southampton. His foot was just up here in someone's face. But yeah, we had a few dodgy ones and they sent off a video, didn't they?
Yeah.
And that's what that means, we'll get less penalties now.
Yeah, well, I mean, the red cards seem to stop after that, so maybe the penalties will start to come after this. Who knows?
It'd be funny when we get one. It'd just be the biggest cheer ever, and then miss it.
Yeah. Well, moving on anyway, today we played Barnsley away. If you're watching this, it's probably not today. It's probably yesterday or earlier this week, or whenever you're watching. But Swansea went away to Barnsley and came away with 3 points. So continuing an improvement on the road after, maybe not after the Bournemouth game, but after the Coventry game as well. It's just like 2 wins in the last 3 on the road. Obviously, Barnsley are down the bottom end of the table, so maybe one that you'd aim for if you're going to come away with 3 points. It's one of the ones that you'd be looking to get a win. However, I think it's a bit of a, I don't want to say tale of two halves. They're quite similar in a way, but the second half, I think, with tiredness maybe of Barnsley coming to a couple of substitutions, that's what got us the win in the end. But let's start from the beginning. There's not really much to talk about in the first half.
It might have been one of the worst halves of football I've ever seen.
Well, yeah, I think I tuned in about 15 minutes in and I couldn't tell you a highlight.
It was literally only at the end of the half where like Piroe hit one just wide and led at a header, but that was right at the end of the half, and apart from that I don't think anything happened. No,
it was pretty dull, I'll be honest. Not much happened at all. I don't think Barnsley really even did anything. Obviously they got a recently new manager as well, because they've not had a great season so far. When you compare the highs of last season where they were unexpectedly in the playoffs, no one expected them to get to where they did. Obviously we knocked them out in the semi-finals, but really good achievement for them. It's gone to the complete other end of the spectrum, and I know that's because they lost like the manager and their main player in the summer to West Brom, if I'm correct. So the game style has probably changed quite a bit, but it's not really working for them regardless of what they've brought in. So they've already got a second manager this season. But I thought they were awful. Tonight I thought they were absolutely terrible. They were set up to defend, weren't they? They were set up to like just not. I know. Yeah. And we do struggle sometimes against teams like that. Kind of like Blackpool in a way were. They matched our shape to sort of defend against us, although they were pressing us perhaps a bit more than Barnsley did. We struggled to break them down. I guess we actually had a couple more chances or got into the box a few more times against Blackpool, maybe because they were coming at us a little bit more. But Barnsley sitting deep, it took us a long time to get going. So let's go straight to the second half where the action actually happened then. And actually after the 70th minute, we actually scored in the 74th. After we've made a couple of substitutions, so Oliver and Cham came on for Flynn Downs and Corey Smith moved back into more of a central role then, which makes sense. And Ryan Manning actually came on at left wing back, which is not somewhere we see him very often these days. Jake Bidwell making way. Obviously, there has been occasions where one hasn't started and the other one has, and they usually get subbed on or subbed off. But Cabango obviously kept his place from the weekend, which I actually was a bit surprised at. Not because he didn't play well, but I just thought he would revert back to his normal back three. But maybe going forward, that's a sign that he's going to have more trust in playing actual centre-backs there. Maybe. Yeah, maybe. I still think Cabango's touch is off sometimes. It definitely is, and it definitely was against Blackpool the other day. If you were in the stadium, there's a couple of nervy moments there. But he had a decent game tonight otherwise, I think. Yeah. Although he's the one that kind of plays in a different place depending on who he's with. Like Bennett slotted back in on the right where Cabango played against Blackpool, so he's had to go to the left. So, you know, he's not getting the consistency of having the same slot all the time, which I think you've got to give him that as a benefit of the doubt. But the reason I was talking about that mainly was because obviously Manning's come on for Bidwell and he actually got an assist. Yeah, it was a good ball as well. Yeah. More fairness. So he comes on, and one of his first actions was to get the assist for our opener, which was Oliver Cham, who scored. A bit of a tap in, really. Just fizzes a ball across the box, and Cham gets there first and taps it in. Yeah, I think that ball in from Manning made the goal, didn't it? Just put it on a plate for him. But maybe it was just like just having someone else attacking down that flank, because Bidwell was attacking down that flank all first half, and then just not getting anything out of it. So not that Bidwell played like bad, but just having someone different in there caught him cold a bit. Be defending for 70 minutes. But
just having
obviously,
someone else run at you.
there's not really been any competition for Bidwell. Now he knows Manning's perhaps got his slot in centre back. He hasn't got any competition. So Manning coming on in that role and getting an assist as soon as he comes on the pitch perhaps keeps him on his toes and can get him to up his game, or gives us the option of playing Manning there, which I said from day one I thought he would do a better job in this system there than Bidwell would.
Yeah, no, I'd like to see Manning have a bit more of a run out there as well, just for a bit of a change. That's the one that did me on my selection though, because I had everything right apart from I had Manning and Bidwell starting.
I did an unchanged lineup other than Ryan Bennett coming back in, but I took Cabango out. Obviously, I got Corey Smith wrong as well because
I put Corey Smith in. I thought he likes to do that away from home now. I think, doesn't he?
Smith in.
Play Corey Smith. Yeah, Smith in with Downs and Grimes behind and Patterson. I noticed he likes to do that.
Yeah. Fair enough. And it wasn't long after the first goal that we scored our second, which was... The assist came from Joel Piroe. Again, that little partnership assisting Jimmy Patterson. But I think it was more of a... Like, he's passed to Patterson and Patterson's kind of made the goal.
Yeah.
He
does. His space opens up for him lovely, doesn't it?
But he just gets himself a little bit of space on the edge of the box and he just sits into the bottom right corner. But the way that he finishes it was a bit weird. It was like... He just passes it into the net, but you think like, oh, it's not the quickest shot, it's not the strongest shot. Keeper could probably get it, but the keeper wasn't really anywhere near.
No, I think he had so many options. Like the space opened up to him. He had about 3 players running through. He had so many options, and he just takes the snapshot. It was a good strike, to be fair. He just caught the keeper a bit cold, but yeah, I thought it was a good strike.
Yeah, it was good. Any other highlights for you then, or any players that stood out? What do you notice?
No, not really. I think it was just good away performance. Or like if a team is just going to sit in and try and do that. I mean, the first half was poor, but it was more just like a slow poison, wasn't it? It was just like pass them to death until they crack, essentially. So they were patient. In all fairness, as a unit, I will say that was good because they just stuck to it. They just kept passing that ball. And what do they have? 4 million passes again.
Well, let's have a look at the stats in terms of the passes then. So we had 79% possession, which is one of our highest this season. We actually ended up having 6 shots to 3, with 3 on target to 1. So as much as we didn't, I don't think we had a shot on half until our goal. A shot on target until our goal. We ended with 3. Obviously 2 of them went in. 895 passes with 811 of them successful, 91% pass accuracy. So
that's ridiculous numbers.
Pretty high numbers there.
I'm not one for stats. I don't really like stats, but it's just, the numbers that they're putting together, like passing stats, are absolutely ridiculous at the moment.
Well, I mean, we're going to talk about it a bit later on, but Matt Grimes credited some of this in part of the reason why he's signed a new contract. So the fact that, in his words, we're demolishing teams with our style, is what he said.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, like tonight's game was like a bit of a hindsight one, wasn't it? When I was watching it, you're like, oh my god, nothing is happening. But then when you look back at the game now and they've won 2-0, it was just literally passing a team to death, wasn't it? Until they cracked.
And Man City do that often as well, and they don't necessarily always score really early, and teams defend well against them and they get a goal in the second half, and sometimes the floodgates open, sometimes they just get a second. Like, as soon as you get that first goal, and I said this to you, didn't I? Like, as soon as we go 1-0 up, it always looks a lot better because all of a sudden there's more space, there's more gaps. That team's now got to come at you because they can't sit back. Yeah. It always suits us more. But it's getting that first goal. Sometimes, we've been lucky we've had it really quick lately. Other times you've got to pass the team to death and they get tired and eventually a gap opens up and you take advantage.
It is going to be frustrating though, because everyone knows the way we play now, so I think you'll get a lot of games like this away from home and teams coming down are just going to sit in for ages, and we may get like some frustrating 0-0s or still or losing 1-0 or someone gets a bit of a smash and grab against us. Yeah. It's just going to happen, but when you have 80% possession in a game, you're bound. At some point, you're bound to get a chance to win it, aren't you? Yeah, that's the only. That's probably the only thing that's probably keeping us from the higher part of the table is the fact that we could probably be a bit more sort of direct in the final third, you know. And like Man City keep the ball constantly, don't they? But then when they get into that, like just outside the box, they sort of inject a bit of pace, don't they? You've got like Sterling and Silva and De Bruyne just running everywhere. So I think that's probably the only area that's stopping us from.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right, but I think like that's where the likes of having Corey Smith in the team maybe lets you down a little bit. And you saw when Cham came on, there was a little bit more directness and emphasis going forward. Like, would Corey Smith made that run into the box to score that goal?
I think he was still on, Corey Smith. I mean, I thought that.
Yeah, he dropped back.
But when Cham came on, I thought he looked quite deep when he first came on in Cham. So I don't know if
I noticed that as well. But I think when he first came on, he slotted into where Downs was, and there was, I don't know what it was, a ball went out or something, and they switched. After the goal was scored, they had definitely switched to that point. But I'm assuming they'd already switched for the fact that he's made that run into the box. Because he was furthest player forward.
I think and Cham is the key as well. Like, we've obviously, Patterson has been brilliant in that sort of area, but I think he can't carry it all season. I think in Cham will be key. I don't know whether it's still fitness because he doesn't start every game. When he does and he's playing well, he's, you know, like tonight when he came on, massive difference, changed the game.
Well, it might be a defensive thing, like what you said about being away. He just likes being solid before and then attack at the end after you've tired the teams out.
Yeah, to be fair, when you go away from home, and you know he likes to play sort of two behind the striker, doesn't he? Is probably really attacking when you've got wing backs really high up and two sort of attack-minded midfielders behind the striker. Is quite a big shout to do that away from home.
Yeah. I just want to highlight what I noticed in the Blackpool game and just continued obviously into this one. Obviously I was at the Blackpool game, so I was looking at it a little bit more in detail in person. And I don't want to talk about specifically that game, but just in terms of the system. Kyle Norton and Matt Grimes, for me, are so vital in the middle of the park. You can include Flynn Downs in here as well, but I think overly these two. So Norton had the 97% passing accuracy with 162 passes completed, and Grimes had 95% with 147 passes completed. I just think like those two are operating so important jobs, such important jobs in the middle. Everything's going through him. Norton clears everything up at the back. He picks the ball up from the keeper and tries spreading the play, which he's become like a massive key player under Russell Martin, which is weird considering he's in the middle of the back three and he's so vital there.
Man, and he's playing every game now. Like, how many times last season did he have to like play 2 games and then he was out for 2? And then he came back in and he was out
fighting
again.
With Connor Roberts for right back, wasn't he? And then obviously playing 3 at the back as well with Steve Cooper. But obviously we had Kihi, Cabango, Bennett. So, you know, he was. But now he's like literally. I think he's the one that's just not going to get dropped out of the back 3 for any reason.
Yeah, worried if he gets injured though.
Yeah, but I think underdog so far for me. Underdog shout for being in the conversation for player of the season so far.
Norton.
Yeah. Obviously, you're going to
definitely.
have Patterson in there and you're going to have Piroe in there. But he's going to be in the conversation for the job that he's doing in that back 3.
Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely. He's been class. So I said, again, I don't really like the stats, but there was one the other day, I can't remember if I showed you, it was like, I don't know, it was some sort of weird graph between like how many passes a player makes and how long the passes are. And it was like a lot of cluster of defenders, sort of long ball, few passes in a game. It was like Kyle Norton out there on his own, which was like more passes in a game that was shorter. Just clear difference from the rest of the league. He was just all out there on his own.
Yeah, so
obviously that's the way we play, isn't it? But
yeah,
the fact that he is there.
Out of those accurate passes you mentioned in long balls, he did 11 long balls, 10 of them were accurate as well. So it's harder to be accurate with a long ball.
What constitutes a long ball for us? Probably going to the fullback.
I think they do try and ping it up to they try and ping it up to the wing back sometimes, don't they?
Yeah.
But yeah, solid from those two. I think Grimes as well, obviously so important. Very good news that he signed his new contract. Everything goes through those two. I think they are vital in the middle. They're like the core of the team. I know not much change in the rest of the personnel at the moment as well, but those two specifically I think are worth highlighting. For this match then, I don't know, man of the match is a bit tough. I guess maybe... I actually don't know. I don't know who I would give man of the match to.
No, it was hard, wasn't it, like I said.
Perhaps Grimes just for keeping us ticking, because if the job was to tire them out and keep us keeping the ball and passing around, then he's done a good job there.
Yeah, that's fair. It was more just a unit performance, wasn't it? Just to be able to keep the ball and keep patience for that long.
Yeah.
Just like I said, it was like a slow poison. It just got them in the end. But I was hard to pick a man of the match. I think Grimes in the middle, Downs was good as well.
Yeah. I mean, Patterson had a good finish with his goal, so I guess he could put his hand up and you could have a shout there. As much as, like, I was looking at him, maybe who opened the scoring, but I don't know if Manning and Cham for a 30-minute cameo. They didn't do bad, but I think the others did a good job anyway for the entire match to have a bigger shout of man of the match. But yeah. Let's move on anyway. A little bit of news to talk about this week. We already touched on it a couple of times. So word of Wine Street is then that Matt Grimes signed a new contract for Swansea City. We're a bit delayed on this because we didn't do a podcast last week. But pretty sure we were told that this was never going to happen. And we definitely should have let him go in the summer for $2 million, because now he's going to go on a free.
Yep.
I mean...
Looks like we did a bit of good bit of business in the end.
Well, yeah. I mean... He's not going to go on a free, and if he does look, he could still go in January, he could still go in the summer, but he's not going for $2 million. Nowhere near $2 million.
No, not now, not with his contract, but if you look back in hindsight now, it was just the perfect outcome happened, didn't it? He didn't leave. He's now slotted in and playing the football that everybody wants to see, and he's at the heart of that, which we knew he would be. Because everyone was crying out for us to play passing football, and we said he's the type of player that you need in the middle. And again, we said before, to me, nobody likes to admit it, that he's sort of adopted the Leon Britton role, isn't he, in that system? Yeah. And he signed a new contract, so perfect. And now he's getting all the plaudits that he finally deserves, I think.
Yeah, and
we've been sort of trying to back him for a couple of years, but I think he's finally getting the recognition now.
Russell Martin said he wanted to build this team around him, and he's already starting to do that. Russell Martin also said that he thought Grimes was going to be gone in the summer, and look, it was close to happening by all accounts. He nearly went to Fulham made a bid, but we gave a lot of stick to the board for the transfer fees and that in the summer for some of the players, but they rejected the one for Grimes because it didn't meet their valuation, and that's the only reason why he didn't go, by all accounts. So credit where credit's due. They've rejected it, they've held firm, and they've got him a new contract that he's agreed to. Now obviously there's reasons why he's signed on. He says the decision was because he wanted to stay here. He actually said that he thought he was going to go to Fulham in the summer, but he didn't really want to go. He just thought it was just going to be one of them things, where he's just got to move on. But he's in his interview he's talking about how he's happy how it's turned out, that he's not gone there, and that he feels like he's enjoying his football now more than he would be if he was playing in Fulham right now, which is a weird thing to say when they're sitting top of the league.
Yeah, no, I think you get what he means though. It's how much game time would he be having? Yeah. Probably don't necessarily play the same football that we do. Maybe they do pass it around a bit, but not quite as much. So would he have slotted in? He's probably, and he stayed here, and Russell Martin's come in and playing the brand of football that he is, and he's just thinking, oh my God, this is just the perfect type of football for me in my position that I'm most comfortable. Yeah. Think of all the times when obviously we were playing that football under Potter and he was playing left back, and then obviously he was playing with Cooper, who didn't necessarily play that football. Now he's thinking, thank God that it's worked out that I'm here. And he's probably, like you said, he's probably the most happy he's been in his career playing that type of football in that position. He's just suited to it. So it's probably a no-brainer for him.
Yeah, exactly. This is what he specifically said. The decision was made because I want to stay here. it was not a case of signing for another year or two so the club could get more money for me. That was not the case at all. I went to the manager and I said I wouldn't be part of this project. To be honest with you, it would have absolutely broken my heart if I had ended up at another championship team and had to play against this style of football and been battered the way we have battered teams. I had to be part of it. I went straight in and I said I want to sign a new deal here. It was never a case of getting a few extra quid by selling me. That's not part of the plan at all. I want to be here to take this club back to the Premier League. So, fair play.
Yeah, spot on. Fair play to him.
So
I think it's great. I think it's just all going up at the moment, isn't it? Touch wood. I know we will get, again, we said we'll get some dodgy results along the way, but having GRIMES sign a new contract is a massive step. He wants to be here now. We can see that he's buying in what Russell Martin is doing. He said, I want to try and get us back to the Premier League. I'm sure we'll add more players along the way as well. Players will want to come and play for us now because it's well documented. All the pundits are talking about where we play, the number of passes that we're doing, and all the stats that back it up. So more to follow, I think.
Yeah, well, that's what Russell Martin was saying, that the fact that this news has come out, it's going to help them with the other transfer business. He's saying basically, obviously, it's kind of like a coup for the club. Everyone has already written it off in terms of GRIMES going. He said he had agents talking to him about it, and when he was saying like, I want to keep him, they were basically laughing at him. And he said he can't wait now to speak to the same agents to see what they got to say now, basically. But so hopefully, it will turn a couple of heads when maybe they were considering, yes, should I go there, should I maybe not go there, but seeing us keep a player of that talent is obviously going to be a good thing going forward. Got a question for you. Would you still not have let GRIMES go to have Fosu on loan for 1 year?
No chance.
But think of all the goals we could have scored if we had Fosu on loan for the year.
I don't remember that. All that. Should have let GRIMES go and get Fosu in.
Imagine that. Like a club captain going for £2 million. Didn't you try and offer him a new deal and get someone in on loan?
And then not signed in Cham as well, as a result.
Well, I mean, good thing they didn't look at Swans Twitter, eh? Anyway.
It all changes, isn't it? It all changes.
In other news this week, former manager Frankie Burrows has passed away, which is obviously sad news. So
yeah, he was Swans manager when we were both born.
Indeed. So he obviously won the Welsh Cup and Football League trophy before he left in 1995. Started in 91. So obviously thoughts with his family. But I think a lot of people are tweeting out and paying their respects to him. Obviously had a good time with the club and is part of the history. So I'm sure next home games for Reading, I would assume there will be some form of clapping or minute silence or something for to remember Frankie Burrows. So take part in that if you're heading down. The last thing as well I want to touch on then is some players that didn't travel to the Barnsley game. So first of all, we've got Morgan Whittaker who didn't travel, which isn't necessarily surprising. But I've heard Lincoln are sniffing around maybe going back in for a loan bid in January, which I don't think any of us would be surprised if he goes somewhere because he barely is featured.
Surprised he didn't go in the summer, really. Because he's got to go out on loan and get some game time now, I think.
Yeah.
There's just no point in him playing in 23 games because... no disrespect to that, but I mean, he needs first team competitive football now. Yeah,
no, that's true. Same as like Kyle Joseph, who is doing quite well, and Ollie Cooper as well. Jay Felton is apparently actively now seeking to leave in January. I guess there's only so many games you can be not even on the bench before you decide enough's enough. He's not even at the age of Morgan Whittaker where he could try and hold it out. Really, he's 27, 28, so he needs to get going. He's in his prime, essentially. For me, I'm a bit gutted. I don't want him to go. I would much rather be part of the first team plans. And if it was me that was the manager, and I'm not, it's just my opinion, I would have him in the squad over Corey Smith, but that's just my opinion.
Shout. No, I agree with you. Basically, but I think what's happened is Downs has come in, hasn't he?
Yeah.
And he's sort of knocked Jay Fulton out of the pecking order.
Which
well,
is fine.
Russell Martin's pecking order. Obviously, he thinks he's bottom of the pecking order, but it just seems a bit. I'm with you. It seems a bit strange to me. It doesn't seem like he did play a couple of games at the beginning of the season, but it seems like his mind was made up that he was just not going to be part of it.
It's just like, I get it, and I get like Downs maybe does a similar job, but can he even be on the bench then? Like,
I know. Yeah,
I would rather him on the bench. Liam Walsh isn't getting on the pitch, so
I know. Yeah.
If you're going to bring Downs off like you did today, I know we brought on Cham and swapped him and Smith, but like you could also have brought, I don't know, Smith could come off for Fulton. I think that's more of a like for like, because Walsh isn't getting on the pitch either, is he? So
I wonder if because Grimes, the Grimes situation sort of went into deadline day, didn't it? Like he still could have gone. I think we were all still expecting him to go on deadline day. So I wonder if Fulton was maybe moving on, or maybe wanted to move on, but they were saying, well, we can't let you go in case Grimes goes, and then obviously Grimes stayed, and then he's just not playing now.
Yeah, so we've got one too many midfielders, basically.
Yeah, we definitely have.
Yeah.
Maybe Downs was sort of brought in as a Grimes replacement, a potential replacement. And then obviously Grimes didn't go, and now he signed a new contract, so that just leaves, well, either Corey Smith or Fulton out in the wilderness, and obviously he prefers Corey Smith. But guaranteed he's going to go Forest in January.
Yeah, unless some miraculous change of fortunes happens, I think we may not see Fulton in a Swan shirt again. Which is sad, because he's been a good servant, and I think he is the longest serving player in the squad right now.
Yeah, I like Fulton.
Brought him in the Premier League in the youth team. I think it was Gary Monk that gave him his debut. But
yeah, and then he was a bit of a stalwart when we came down, like the sort of the rebuild from getting relegated.
Yeah, you've got to refresh your squad, I guess, and it happens. But yeah, it's just one of them ones that's a bit sad for me. Anyway, the last
could you argue though a little bit that like I got a lot of time for Fulton. I think he's brilliant. Would he be that level to be like sort of top end of the league, lower end of Premiership player? I'd say probably.
I think
not.
if we went up though, you'd bring someone in then and replace him. I just think like. Yeah. I don't want to sound so harsh on Corey Smith, but I just don't know what he does more than what Fulton brings. I haven't actually seen what Corey Smith's really brought. When he's playing in this attacking role especially. And when he's put back into the two, I just think Fulton does a better job of putting in a bit of a heavy tackle and sweeping up now and then.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't mind Corey Smith, man. I think he's decent, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
I don't mind him at all, but if I have to pick between the two, I personally think Fulton's better, but like that's my opinion. I'm not saying it's like a night and day difference. It's not like
I get what you're saying.
But
I agree with you. But I don't know what I agree with you. That's what makes me think that he was going anyway, or it's always been in the pipeline that he's going. Then I don't know. Well, like obviously. He played a couple of games at the beginning of the season and he made him captain.
He was
maybe
suspended,
that was like,
wasn't he, at the start?
Yeah, but maybe that was like all right, you didn't get your move. Maybe this is all speculation. We have no idea. All right, okay, you didn't get your move. I'll give you a run out. You give him a captaincy for a game, didn't he? And then
the Brighton
maybe
game.
maybe just didn't. Well, I didn't think he was that good in the Brighton game. So maybe it was just the case of he was always wanted to go, so he's just not been in his plans.
Yeah, maybe. The last player that wasn't included, which is the most kind of, I don't know if bizarre is the right word, or alarming, or it asks questions, but as Michael Obafemi didn't travel. He came off the bench against Blackpool, and then he played in the under-23 match on Monday, but he's not part of the squad this time again for the away trip. I don't know what's going on with him. He's had a couple of discipline issues, obviously, where Martin came out and was saying basically he knew what he'd done wrong. They had a conversation and something like that, basically some sort of discipline stuff. It's not good signs though, is it, for Obafemi? It's not been a good, easy start for him. There's been a bit of disruption there.
What is going on there? I just think at the moment, and I hope I'm wrong, this has just got flop written all over it. Like just playing a couple of times off the bench maybe, and then moving on at some point. Because he said he's had discipline issues. All right, fair enough. But then he's back in the team and he comes off the bench, and then he's out again. So does he just keep doing something wrong all the time, or is it just, I don't know? Well, that's what it looks like to me, because he's like not playing, and he's in the squad, and he came on, he scored against Birmingham, and he thought, right, here we go, he's going to get back into it, and he's out of the squad again. And like you said, he's back in, he comes off the bench against Blackpool. You just think, right, he's going to get game time now, and then he's out of the squad again. So is he keep doing something? I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. It also looks like Rhys Williams pretty much nailed on to get recalled in January as well, which we did discuss the potential of this in the last video, but
I don't know what's happened there either. He hasn't really played since that Luton game where he had some abuse, didn't he? And then never really. I don't think he's ever come back into the squad properly since then.
I just think he's the defence is quite settled now, isn't it? We said it was changes every other match at the start of the season, but now it's been quite settled, and ever since he's not been able to get a look in.
Yeah, like Brandon Cooper was playing, and he's not getting a look in now either.
Yeah. So obviously, if Williams goes, there's a slot on the bench already there for Brandon Cooper, which is it going to change much really there? I don't think we'd be weaker necessarily.
I think, I thought Cooper was alright when he was playing at the start of the season. He's playing alright, but I think we will. Well, hopefully, I think we might get some movement in January. So if he's going back on loan, that means they'll probably bring someone else in on loan. I think. If Whittaker's probably going to go out on loan, Fulton is going to go. I'd imagine like Dander's got to go.
Who's Dander? I don't even.
He's not playing either. So maybe that opens up to. I think we need cover at the back though, because you've got like Bennett, loves the yellow card.
Well, Latabodia is still knocking about as well, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he's going to move on at some point as well, maybe in the summer.
Yeah, but you can't just move everyone on that's not playing.
Oh no,
that's
I know,
cover works, isn't it?
No, I know that, but I mean, the players that do move on, you replace them with better players that fit into the system.
Yeah.
And how long a player is going to stay? Like if they're not playing, like Fulton's not playing, so he's going to go.
Yeah.
Latabodia only plays wing back when he plays, so like how long is he going to be happy doing that? And what I mean is, like now, for example, Rhys Williams goes on loan. Maybe that means they bring in another centre half on loan that can cover, Norton, for example, if he gets injured.
Yeah,
you've got better cover.
I haven't seen anyone
with better options
at the moment. I saw us linked with Tom Lawrence, but I think that was a load of rubbish.
Yeah, I can't see that happening.
Yeah. Well, I don't think there's any more news. There's a couple of results tonight. Blackburn won 4-0 against Peterborough. It's probably the highlight. Cardiff losing at home to Hull as well is not great for them. We got QPR soon. They had a 1-0 win at home to Huddersfield. I'm not sure how Reading got off yesterday.
Reading yesterday? I can't remember.
They played Sheffield United, and Sheffield United won. Oh, I didn't realise Fleck collapsed in the middle of the game.
Yeah, no, I saw that.
Do you know what it was?
Yeah, no, they haven't said, but he said he's alright now and he's been discharged from hospital. That means he's alright.
Is it like one of them things like Bafétimbi Gomez used to have?
I'm not sure. Yeah, they haven't really said much about it. But,
yeah, fair enough. Okay, looking ahead then, we have got Reading, I just mentioned, on the weekend at home. They obviously are sitting lower in the table than they should be. They had a deduction, I believe, didn't they? I can't remember how many points they had.
6, wasn't it?
6 points for them. So theoretically they'd be on 23 and we're on 27. So they're not, that far off us really. They've signed Andy Carroll on a free transfer, I believe, recently.
Yeah, I know. I didn't realise he was there. I'm thinking about it. I was watching I was watching some of the highlights last night, and it came up.
Oh, it's a loan, is it? Hang on, what?
Andy Carroll,
oh no, it is free. A short-term deal until the middle of January.
It's weird.
That is weird. I don't know if he's scored at all though since he's been there.
No, I don't think so.
Don't even know if he's played.
I forgot he was there. He will score on Saturday.
Will he play? Does he play for him?
He came off the bench, I think.
Let's have a look if he played for him in the last game, so against Sheffield. Yeah, he came off a bench. Yeah, okay, so Reading. They've only won one match in the last 7, and they've drawn 1 in the last 7. This is 5 defeats. So the form is not great. They had a bit of a poor summer. I think they let players go, didn't really replace them. We actually had them earlier in the season, didn't we, in the Cup, but it was kind of like our reserves against their kids.
Yeah.
And it was a good win for us, but I'm sure that will be nothing like the teams that play this match. What team would you put out then? Would you make any changes?
No, I think maybe at home you'll bring in Cham in for Corey Smith. I think if everyone's fit, I think you'll probably put Manning back at centre back and have Bidwell on the full back again. I think that's what he's going to do, unless he mixes it up and puts Manning.
You think Cabango loses out then?
I do. I don't know. I don't know. He seems to be the odd one out, doesn't he? At the moment.
Or if Bidwell loses out and Manning goes back to left back.
Yeah, he could do. I wouldn't be, I wouldn't be unhappy with that anyway. But, I think he'll go back to Manning as centre back and Bidwell left back.
I think you're right to go back to the back three, and Cham will come in for Smith, and they'll kind of be the same team as against Blackpool, but Bennett obviously in there at the back. I think anyway. But what about how the game's going to go? Do you think we're going to get a win?
Yeah, we think we've got to win games. I guess at home. Blackpool was another one. Should be winning those games at home, really. It's probably going to be much of the same. We're going to have a lot of the ball, and hopefully they'll take their chances. Like we said, they've got the capability of destroying teams. If they get an early goal, they could beat teams 3-4-0 easy. It's just having that patience, I guess. But I genuinely think this might be an early shout, but they'll probably make a tidy push for the playoffs this year, in and around that area.
You said it.
I think. I think I'm seeing it now. I think we are having some dodgy results, like Bournemouth 4-0. But I think if we can eliminate Bournemouth and Fulham and like West Brom, even though we did beat them, in all fairness, you got like QPR sitting 4th, are they, or 5th? And Coventry.
Yeah, Coventry's the one that stands out for me.
I think we're good enough to be in there. I'm looking at the teams around that pack.
Well, we went to Coventry and won, so.
Exactly, we went to Coventry and won. We beat West Brom.
We beat West Brom, yeah, and they're in there. So why can't we be in there?
Yeah, and I think we've got Reading is a winnable game at home. Then we've got QPR away, which will be a good one. It'll be a good test for us, because I see QPR will probably be in and around the playoff area as well. So it'll be good. But the way the league is, there's like 3 teams on 27 points. We could easily slip back into 15th. But I think the way that we're going at the moment, I think we can make a genuine push. We might not get there, 7th, 8th. I think we could do it.
Well, we've had 5 wins in our last 8 matches, so that's decent form.
Yeah. Like I said, we'll when we come back to look at the result on Saturday, now we'll have a look at how many teams won all 3 games in the midweek.
Yeah.
Thing, and if we can win on Saturday, we've got 7 points from a week, which is great in this league.
One player standing out of Reading's team, we just spoke about Andy Carroll signing on a free transfer. I didn't realise they signed Danny Drinkwater.
Oh, no, did I? Good deal.
He's starting in the midfield for them against Sheffield there. Yeah, it looks like one of their better players as well.
It's like a vets team then.
Scott Dan as well.
Oh, definitely a vets team. My God. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they got no money if they... Oh, something happened.
Yeah, as well. I don't know why they had the points deduction. What was that for?
Yeah, I'm not sure either. Probably something to do with money. It always is, isn't it?
Yeah.
anyway, I think that's a good time to end it. It's been going quite a while, so cheers for joining me. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to keep up to date with all of our videos. Leave a like if you enjoyed what we spoke about today. It helps other people find our channel and helps us grow. Bear with me with my voice, been a bit ill lately, so that's probably why, a bit croaky, but yeah, managed to push through. So hit that like button for us pushing through, and let us know in the comments as well about what we said, and if you agree with us, or your thoughts on everything we've talked about. On that note, we shall see you in the next video or podcast, and yeah, catch you later.
See you soon.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget, if you enjoyed the video, to click the like button to help us grow. To keep up to date with all of our new uploads, hit the subscribe button and push the bell to ensure you are notified of all of our new videos. As always, engage in the comments and let us know your opinions on what we discussed today. And if you want to support us directly, check out our new merch where you can find some awesome Swansea related t-shirts.